Ladies and gentlemen, this is the place to be. Our lineup tonight features the once PR man and friend of Superman. And if that's not enough to keep it locked right here, we have a well-known actor with us whose mom was actually my junior high school teacher. Oh, the suspense. Come on in. Step in the arena.
This guy has made it through rounds playing the style that he plays.
He named everyone. It's like this guy named all 5 of my game-winning shots from 2008, 2009.
I played with two of the most exciting players ever to play the game, Allen Iverson and Vince Carter.
Shout out to producer extraordinaire Randy Cruz. That's right. You are tuned in to Step in the Arena on the Cruise Control Podcast Network in collab with Hard to Guard Media. The podcast is available on youtube.com/Cruise Control Podcast, SoundCloud, Spotify, and Apple. Please like, share, download. We appreciate all of it. And for those checking in live on Twitter or YouTube, feel free to hit us up with questions. My co-host with the most is Edgar Burgos. I'm Bobby C. Ed, how you doing tonight?
What up, Bobby? How you feel? Happy Thursday.
I'm feeling pretty good. You know, I'm actually gonna call it tonight here on the show. The podcast decision. I'm taking my talents, Ed, to South Beach. I can't deal with another snowstorm here in Big Apple.
Yeah, I can't take it no more either. I'm so done with New York. I'm so done.
And if that's not the biggest news of the night, it has to be the fact that, and I'm hoping those that are tuned in on the audio side will make it over to YouTube to check out these beautiful curtains that you have. Because, you know, I've become famous in NBA circles because of my gold curtains. And it certainly looks like you are, you know, kind of tearing a page out of my notebook with these beautiful red curtains. I'm pretty sure Baron Davis is somewhere smiling tonight.
Yeah, I was tired of all the jokes. Every week, somebody had something to say about my background, so I wanted to switch it up a little bit.
That was the best you could muster was coming up with putting yourself in front of curtains. At least I try a little bit. I put jerseys up or something, basketballs on the table.
Well, hopefully our next guest, he's definitely one of the top fashion guys that I know personally. Maybe he can help me design my background.
Give you some pointers here on the podcast.
Yeah.
I think that's a good place to start. You know, for our fans that are tuned in tonight, we had a good intro. So you must surely remember our first guest tonight from the Temptations, the Five Heartbeats, Little Richard as a Jamaican bobsledder in Cool Runnings, or perhaps for our basketball junkies as the character Shep in the 1994 drama Above the Rim. Our first guest, actor and singer, diehard Knicks fan, Leon Preston Robinson, better known simply as Leon. How you doing, Leon? How are you?
Good. I'm good. How we doing, fellas?
What's happening? How you feeling?
I'm good, man. We almost at 500. You know, that's like winning the conference championship for us.
No, we're playing good. I'm actually, you know, I don't know. I know before Bobby jumps in so far, like, how happy are you, you know, watching this season?
Well, you know, I'm just happy that we're playing hard and competing every game, even against teams we're overmatched against. We're playing hard, and that's one thing I know about the Tibbs teams. Always play hard. You know what I hope, what my prayer is that we have a game plan that we stick to. You know, there's going to be some peaks and valleys. There's going to be some losing streaks, but let's just stay with the plan. Don't get rid of Tibbs after 2 seasons or something like that, or a season and a half because things aren't working out right. Have a plan, stick to it.
I was gonna say, do like in past regimes, and you know, everyone knows that you're such a huge Knicks fan. Did anyone come to you from like the Knicks organization for advice, or did you like volunteer your own advice on what the Knicks should do?
Always volunteer my own advice. Crazy shit. This is New York, man. Everybody got an opinion. Nobody's asking for anybody's opinion. They're gonna give it to you. Man, I see Steve Mills or anybody, I just grab them. I remember sitting at a dinner with Phil Jackson. It was this dinner where I was honorary guest and he's being honored and stuff up in Westchester. And you know, I said, "Oh, you could sit him next to me? Oh, he's gonna get an earful."
Oh, what was that conversation like?
Well, you know, I had to approach it from a diplomatic point. So I just started talking about, some mutual people that we knew, kind of break the ice, whatever. I don't want to just slide in on them on the Knicks right now. I had to, let them think I'm friendly and then come in and ask them some crucial questions. Like, what the fuck you doing? Excuse me, I'm sorry. I shouldn't have said that.
That's
All right,
fine.
you can close the podcast.
Are we good? Are we good?
Yeah, we good.
Okay. All right. Good.
Speaking of some fashion, Leon, before tonight's show, when we're kind of pre-gaming things, Ed asked me about this jersey behind me. So I'm not sure how many of the fans might know this, but of course, you're born in the Bronx, raised in Mount Vernon, and you played college basketball at LMU in LA.
Right.
So movie magic aside, how good a baller are you really?
How good of a baller
Yep.
was I, you mean?
Yeah.
Because I strictly
Well, either were you or are you now?
right now. I switched over to tennis. Okay. Tennis was more grown and sexy. So I switched over. I get the same workout. So anyway, as far as basketball is concerned, yeah, I mean, I had fun. I mean, I was the second leading scorer in the city when I was in high school. Averaged about 30 at the Rucker. Played ball and played some pro ball in Europe for Team Rome. Yeah, I put it this way. When I went to the YMCA, I had a lot of fun.
We were hoping to queue up some cool video here because we got actual footage of the jumper. We wanted to show it from above the rim. Looking pretty good.
Yeah, spread the fingers, follow through. Spread the fingers, follow through. Fundamentals, baby. Fundamentals.
The George Gervin layup. The George Gervin layup.
See, the thing is, right now, it's not really a finger roll unless it has that backspin on it. These kids now, they don't know about that, man. They don't know about that backspin on the finger roll.
And it was funny too, Leon, because last week on the show we had Smooch Parker had actually brought up that Loyola Marymount team, and I'm sure our diehard fans would recall that this number 30 is Bo Kimball at LMU, and just what a great team that was with March Madness coming up. And of course, the only two players in LMU history to have their numbers retired are Bo Kimball and Hank Gathers.
Right. Both on the same team. Yeah. That was you talk about peaks and valleys. That team, boy. Wow. Rest in peace, Hank and Bo. We're friends. I played against Bo so many times. Man.
Who back then? Who was like? Obviously, you played with a lot of pros back then, or top college players. Who did you have the most fun playing against?
Fun playing against.
Fun playing against. Oh, with.
Oh. I don't know, man. I was a counselor at ABCD camp, All America camp with Pearl Washington and a bunch of good players. So, yeah, them runs every night were like.
So, Leon, I told Ed, coming into tonight's show that you actually used to come to my junior high school. So your mom was my teacher all the way back in the day.
Where?
And PS 175.
Do you know? Do you know Ruben Rivera?
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
And I told him, that you would come to the gym and ball out, and this was kind of while you were on the rise in your career at that point in time.
Yeah. My mom was there for many years. Yeah. I'll have to tell her that we had a chat.
In terms of thinking back, I guess, to your early part of your career, I was very interested about, some of those appearances before the big movies. I thought it was interesting, earlier side of your career, you were cast as an athlete in a 1989 episode of the NBC series, Midnight Caller. Mm-hmm. Do you think that role kind of opened up the door to some of these other athletic roles that you've played?
I don't know. I mean, it's hard to say. I mean, it was a guest starring spot on the show, but, back then there weren't a lot of those available to people of color. So, I'm sure a lot of people saw me as someone who definitely was athletic. That's for sure.
What I did want to ask you, and I don't think we've ever talked about this. What made you try out for the role of Above the Rim, and how did you get the role in Above the Rim?
Let's see. Above the Rim. Let's see. At the time, I had Cool Runnings coming out, and I also had Cliffhanger, which actually made me like, as far as African Americans, that was probably the top African American at the box office. I think I read that with those two movies. So, yeah, I was somebody that they had their eye on, and they had offered the role. I found out afterwards they'd offered the role to my friend Denzel, and he couldn't do it or passed on or whatever. It didn't matter, and so they were interested in me, and so I met with them, but they thought I was too young looking. So, I told them, I said, it's acting. Don't worry about it. And so, it wound up happening. And it was cool. I think that I think one of the things I love about Above the Rim, and I'll say this to anybody, is that if you're really a baller, this movie's filled with ballers from top to bottom, and the practice runs before, when we were, getting ready to do the movie, they were hardcore. And so I love the fact that, you're seeing a story told by actors, convincing actors too, but yet the ball is real.
And Dwayne Martin was one of those guys. He played Division III basketball at NYU, and then, got a little look with the Knicks. Was he your biggest comp in that role when you guys would, play some pickup in the lead up to some of those scenes?
No, not really, because he was usually on my team. Yeah, so
guys,
it was back then. It was more about just like, getting your game on. You weren't really going against anybody. I think Speedy and Dwayne, they used to go at it. They used to go at it, yeah. But me, I was in character, so I mean that's the way I roll. I was Shep before we started filming. I was walking around not saying anything.
The coolest guy on the court.
Leon, do fans ever ask you about Tupac Shakur?
Of course, all the time.
And what do you tell them?
Depends on what they ask.
I mean, I guess probably fondest memories of him or working with him.
Tupac was very boisterous, and was got into quite a bit of trouble while we were filming. He was arrested twice. Once for shooting off-duty police officer down in Atlanta, the incident in New York, delayed filming. But with me, he was 100. And he said it when we first had our first script read through. He came in, he was all loud and everything, and he came up to me and said, "Listen, you're not gonna." He actually bowed his head and said, "You're not gonna have a problem with me because you are in the 5 heartbeats."
One of the great things about when you talk about Above the Rim today is you played alongside Wood Harris, who's now becoming a force in the industry, and Marlon Wayans.
Mm-hmm.
Can you just talk about the relationship that you have with both? I actually grew up with Marlon, and I went to school with Sean. So I just want to know the relationships you had with with them two, especially watching like Wood Harris, go through The Wire and some of the top movies that rock, Creed, and when what type of conversations you guys have.
Well, not much, because my storyline didn't really involve them, so like I said, I was pretty much like a method actor back then. So I was like Shep all the time. So I was just a loner, I was just like, I did my thing and, that was it. I mean, my conversations with Wood and Marlon and everything, came after the filming.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, after the film and stuff, and we'd see each other and stuff. And I'm always happy to see my brothers doing well, man. Like that's what you want. when you're seeing people, out on the screens like that, you always hope it's somebody you know and you like, as opposed to someone you don't. So yeah, I mean, I'm happy for everybody's success. I want people to do things they want to do and fulfill their lives and their careers, and keep it moving.
Do you think you get more questions about Tupac or Madonna? Get a chance to star in that 1989 video Like a Prayer. Do you get more questions about him or about Madonna?
Wow, that's a good question.
And what was she like to work with?
She was great, fantastic, very generous. Yeah, she was a lot of fun.
So now I want to switch it up and put your general manager hat on and talk about obviously the Knicks, and we already talked about how proud you are. Do you think, let's talk about Julius Randle. Is Julius Randle an NBA All-Star? And should he be guaranteed an All-Star spot?
Without a doubt, he's an All-Star by the eye test. He's an All-Star by his impact, and he's an All-Star by the numbers.
So do you think that the coaches will vote him in?
If they don't, they should. And just based on the fact that we haven't had one in so long, they should just give us one just on the principle. No, but Julie, he's playing like an all-star, 100%. I don't know how he could be playing. Heck, how can he not be an all-star? I mean, well, I can say, well, let's just be smart about this, okay? Let's just go over the forwards. Who's the forwards in the East? Because that's really what it's about. Doesn't make a difference how well he's playing. So who are the forwards in the East that we know is going to go? Kevin Durant, for sure.
Starter.
Right. Kevin Durant. Who else is coming out of the East as in the forward position? Giannis is considered.
We're actually going to put up the starters here. Yeah, Giannis and Embiid too.
And Bradley Beal, the shooting guard.
All right. Is that the actual lineup?
That's the starting lineup.
What?
That's the starting five.
Okay, so the voting's done.
For the starters.
For the starters. Next week they announced the reserves next week.
It's nice that Bradley Beal is starting. That's great. Yeah, he deserves that. That's nice. Yeah. So okay, so let's go. So who's after that? What forwards that definitely need to be down?
I'm thinking Ben Simmons.
He's a guard. He's a guard. Ben's a guard.
Who we got, Bobby?
I mean, I feel like there's, tons of players that could make the team. I don't know if they'll all be at the forward position, but I feel like it'll just be a question of spots. Like if there's enough spots, I mean, there's already not that many spots on the All-Star team, which is why there's always snubs every year.
Oh, yeah, it's always going to be snubs because there's too many great players. Let's see.
I was going to look up what the voting numbers might be at the moment.
I would have thought it would have been Siaka, but he's not having that kind of season.
No, he's not having a season like that.
Yeah, right. And so he was supposed to come out. Let's see who else in the East. Nobody's having a better season than Julius Randle. No, I mean whoever, maybe somebody more popular. And who is that person? Who we think? Jimmy Butler, maybe.
Jimmy Butler was a 2, so he'll definitely make it.
So I actually got
Bam Adebayo.
Yeah, the other forwards guys or front court players at the moment would be you got obviously Bam, Jimmy Butler, both from Miami, Jason Tatum, Grant in Detroit,
and Jaylen Brown.
Well, I was gonna say Jaylen Brown's actually been their best player.
Gordon Hayward and Charlotte's having a good year. Sabonis in Indiana. Those would probably be like the other, maybe 5 or 6 contenders along with Randall.
Right.
For that spot.
Just on the fact that the Knicks are almost at 500 and they might be at over 500 by the All-Star break, I feel like guarantees Randall an All-Star spot. Just
on a team with the average age of what, 24? 22. So I mean, come on, man. He's basically leading them and being consistent. That's what I can really say about. He's been consistent. He's given us 24, 15, 12 every single night.
So, Leon, there's actually some in the organization that believe that Randall will be part of this nucleus moving forward, and actually part of the young core that will stay with this Knicks team. But do you think it's possible that since his stock has never been higher, that the Knicks might actually consider moving him at the deadline?
Well, put it this way: our past Knicks most definitely would have done that. You know, every time we start liking a player, they get rid of him. You know what I'm saying? So I hope not.
I didn't mean to cut you off, Ed, by the way.
Yeah,
No.
yeah. I hope not. But you know, the problem with that is we don't know what's presented to them. You know,
I think they are going to at least pick up the phone and consider offers for him. I hope that they don't trade him, because I think he fits in very well with what they're doing, obviously. And I thought it was interesting. I mean, you see him put up 44 points this week, and that bested his previous high at 35. And for our diehard Knicks fans out there, as you mentioned, we really haven't had much to be that excited about in the last few years. Do you know who the last player was to score 40 points for the Knicks before Julius Randle dropped 44?
Carmelo.
Nope, not Carmelo Anthony. A much more obscure Knick, but a pretty good player. Just
Dotson.
nope, but close. The correct answer is Trey Burke.
I was about to say Trey
March
Burke.
of 2018
Burke.
against the Hornets.
Dude, I campaigned for the Knicks to get him. No, I'm serious. When he was he was on the junior league team. I'm like, yo, dude, you got to bring this kid up, man. This kid gets buckets. He's doing well down in Dallas.
Yeah, he was playing
He's a good player.
well.
But yeah, he gets buckets.
Now, one of the main things, obviously, you got another team in New York City called, the Brooklyn Nets. Do you watch them much? Are you happy that, they're winning, or do you even care too much about the Nets at all?
I'm watching them as I'm doing this interview. No, of course I care. I mean, I'm a New Yorker, okay? So to be perfectly honest with you, I'm a Yankee fan. But if the Yankees don't win it all, I love the Mets to win it. You know what I'm saying? And I'm the same way. I'm a Knicks fan. But shoot, if the Nets gonna win the championship, that's the second best thing that can happen to me.
We've had some guests on that have said otherwise. Like if they root for the Nets, they're not rooting for the Knicks, and vice versa.
Listen, the Knicks, I hate to break it to anyone, the Knicks and the Nets have never been rivals.
Facts.
They've never been rivals. So what are you trying to create a rivalry for because they're in your same city? I mean, that doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah, but you got to admit right now, even if the Knicks are playing well, it's still the vibe across the NBA is that we're probably going to see a Lakers-Nets final.
Yeah, that's what people are saying. Yeah.
Which means right now they would be the Kings of New York.
Yeah, but I mean, you're projecting something that's not even an all-star break. I mean, last year you definitely weren't saying Miami was playing the Lakers in the finals, right?
No way. Last year might have been, Leon might have been tough, man. With the bubble changed everything. I think if there's no bubble, I think the Bucks probably reach the finals. Again, it's hard to
I don't know.
forecast that.
It's
and again, it didn't happen.
The Bucks have not shown me that when the game slows down in a half-court game, that they can execute.
I totally agree.
And that's what you have to do in the playoffs. It's a half-court game. That game slows down drastically. All this scoring we're seeing right now, and that's really the problem that people are seeing with the Nets is that, okay, this is fine right now. They put 140 on you easy with that offense. They're not putting 140 points in you in the playoff game. They're not doing that. Okay? You're going to have to play defense or you're not winning. Okay? Tell me an NBA team that was a championship team that wasn't in the top tier of defense.
Well, if that's the case, then the Nets might not even make the finals.
Well, and as that presently constructed, you're absolutely right. Because they gave away an important part of the defensive piece, which is Jarrod Allen. Okay? And so, now they got an unbelievable scoring crew where you have what do you have, like 6 out of the last 8 scoring championships are by Durant and Harden, right?
Mm-hmm.
And Kyrie Irving takes more shots. I love it. He takes more shots than both of them.
I was gonna say, when you see, like, you hear like the whole rumors with Andre Drummond obviously not playing, and they're looking to either release him, trade him. They're trying to figure it out before the trade deadline. And the same thing with Blake Griffin. Do you see either one of those players coming to the Brooklyn Nets? Or what teams do you think they should go to?
Drummond's an interesting situation because he can be very effective when you get to the playoff time and you play in that half-court game.
Been an all-star.
Oh, yeah. No, definitely. I mean, shoot, Drummond would be one of those players that, would be Randall's competition for an all-star game.
100%.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know where either one of those guys should go or would go. It's surprising. I think that Drummond could go down to Miami. That'd be a good place for him.
They need a center.
That'd give them. Well, they have a buy. He's actually technically their center, but I'm saying if you had that guy that could really just anchor that defense and rebounding, and when it comes to that half-court game. But players like that can go a lot of good places. I don't know. They're talking about Blake maybe going to the Lakers. What do you think about that?
I'm for it. I want to see. Honestly, I'm like, for me, I want to see LeBron win number 5, just because I appreciate what LeBron has done for the league and what he does outside the game. And me and Bobby argue about it. We were arguing about it last week about the GOAT, who is the greatest of all time. Mm-hmm. Right now, I like to say, look, if LeBron wins a number 5, I'm going with LeBron at 1.
You hear that, Leon? He's actually trying to leapfrog 5 and go right to GOAT status of 6. He wants to just wipe Jordan out of the books, man, with LeBron James.
Okay, I have a couple of things to say about that. One, I just don't understand why is it that LeBron James, by you people who love LeBron James so much, and I give him all respect too because he deserves it. Okay,
100%
trust. But I don't understand how he just leapfrogs over Magic and Kobe, who got 5. Wait, how does he leapfrog over them? You got him leapfrogging over them and Jordan. I'm like, come on now, back up a little bit.
So my thing is,
back up a little bit, okay? He hasn't won a back-to-back. And Kobe's done a 3-peat and a back-to-back, okay? All with one team.
Okay.
Wait. And
then you ain't got to tell me about Jordan. So.
And then you got Magic, right? Magic plays 12 seasons. He goes
greatest Laker of all time. Magic
goes to the finals 9 times, wins 5. LeBron don't have that kind of record. And how long would the Magic have even been playing if it wasn't for the AIDS thing? He only gave us 12 years. How many finals would he go to?
Okay, so my argument to that is if LeBron wins this year, he wins 5. This is his 5th title. He went to 8 straight NBA finals. Yes.
Oh, here we go. Here we go, Leon.
He'll be 5 and 6 in NBA finals, his career record. And we haven't seen a player, and that's in 17 seasons or 18 seasons? 11 finals in 18 seasons? That's on par with Magic.
Well, yeah, definitely. I mean, who knows what I'm saying? We don't know because Magic didn't play that long. And he didn't play that long not because of injury.
Ed,
because of the AIDS thing. So
Magic Johnson's my favorite Laker.
What I'm saying is that if Magic had gone on, and Magic had the type of game where it didn't rely on athleticism. So shit, Magic might be still playing today. You know what I'm saying? I mean, he was never a jumper. He was never fast. You know what I'm saying? It was all here.
Tom Brady, the NBA.
Yeah, so what I'm saying is that, but as far as, listen, it's a team game, so it's hard to ever really accurately compare. But the one thing I do say is this, and I say this every time I'm on sports radio talking to anybody. Come on, you cannot compare eras. LeBron is the best of this era, period. He's playing a different kind of game than the one Michael Jordan played and the one Jerry West played, okay? There's different games, okay? Steph Curry, who I love. Do you know if Steph Curry had played back when MJ and Iverson were playing? They'd throw his ass on the floor. His little ass be on the floor every damn game. He's lucky if he get a foul, okay? I mean, it's a different game. I mean, the game now is structured for more scoring, okay? So now these players, you can't put your hands on them. Can you imagine if you couldn't put your hands on Michael Jordan? Could you imagine that? Did you see what he did when you could put your hands on him?
No, I agree. He was average 40.
There's no way he is averaging less than 40 a game. There's no way.
I say it every week, Leon. You don't have to tell me on it.
Right, that's what I'm saying. So you can't compare the eras. I give LeBron his era. You can only compare someone to who they played against anyway.
I totally get it. I just do it because I love talking to Bobby about it. But my thing is like, I think, LeBron is great. And it's funny how I think now as he's getting older, he's finally getting the credit he really deserves from people that don't like him, because people don't like him for, I don't know what reason. The guy never gets in trouble. He's never gotten into trouble outside the game. He gives back. He does what he's supposed to do, and he comes out and plays, and he still gets hate. And that's what, for me, I love greatness, so that's why I support him.
Do you know what, though? Let me tell you something. You're always going to get a certain amount of, hate or people who aren't down with you if you boast, if you self-promote. If you do that, there are going to be people that don't like you, okay? Because in reality, what I do as an actor, entertainer, ball is the same thing. What I think of myself doesn't mean anything. It's what you think of me. You're the one watching. You're the one paying, okay? So I'm not going to tell you how good I am, okay? I'm just not going to tell you that because what does it matter? It only matters how good you think I am.
Yeah, but some of those guys, Kobe Bryant gave himself a nickname. I mean, some of those guys get away with it because of their greatness.
No. They get away with it, and people still don't like them. Do you think there was people that liked Kobe Bryant when he was playing? You're talking about Kobe Bryant when he retired. Yeah, we love him now, but I hated him. We hated him. He came to town to destroy people. Okay, they didn't like Kobe unless you were a Laker fan.
To me, a Laker fan or not, you had to appreciate how great he was. The same conversation.
Appreciating someone and liking them is two different
things.
Totally different. I appreciate Boston. I appreciate the Celtics. I appreciate the Patriots, but I don't like them.
Leon,
I appreciate them, but I'm not gonna sit here and say I like them.
That's a good segue too in terms of questions, because before we let you go, I really wanted to know which curtains you like more, Ed or mine. Are you going red tonight or are you going gold? Because if you're going to step in the arena, do you want to go through gold curtains or red ones?
Well,
that is the question, my friend.
The decision is rather easy.
Neither.
Well, now that you mention it. But, no, your curtains and your camera are more centered, giving you a better appearance of your curtains than Edgar. But then again, you got to give Edgar a pass because he's new to the style game. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, and he admits it too. And that's how you know a guy's going to improve his life, when he knows his flaws.
Yes. What I did want to ask you before you jump off is Serena and Naomi Osaka. I know you're a big tennis fan.
Big.
And your thoughts on, obviously watching Naomi, and she's the next one. And yesterday after the press conference was over, Serena, they were asking her about, retiring. It's just her last Australian Open, and she left the press conference. She was crying. How important is it, do you think, I don't know if you know her personally, on her winning her 24th major? And do you think that she has a chance of winning her 24th major?
Okay, so one, just going back a little bit about Osaka being the next one. She's not the next one. She is the one. Okay, I think she is the richest female tennis player already, and she's won the last 3 out of the last 4 slams. I mean, she's the one now. Okay, can Serena win another major? Well, I would think that somebody who came off of a pregnancy, had a child, and has been in what?
3 years.
3 out of the last 5 finals?
Yeah.
Yeah, 3 out of the last 5 finals. I don't think that's the time to be giving it up. You know what I'm saying? I mean, if you finish at number 2, okay? And let's be honest with you. I mean, that game with Osaka, I mean, Serena played terrible.
She did.
I mean, she didn't give herself a chance to win. And I think that's, and it's so funny because that's the question that the reporter asked that got her emotional. Like, was it just a bad day at the office or whatever? And it's just like, yeah, I mean, she didn't give herself a chance to beat Osaka. And I know as an athlete, that's what hurts the most. When you can beat me. If you beat me, I just give you props. We're all good. When I lose it myself, that's when it's hard to sleep. When you lost. You didn't get beat. You lost.
But the problem is, I think also it actually might be in her head, just for the simple fact that they faced 4 times. They've played each other 4 times. But the last 3 times, Osaka has won. And handily, too. So...
Well, yeah, on the big stage, whatever, she's really tough. And Osaka admires her so much she won't even look at her during the match. She's just so locked into beating her. But, it's like anything else. It's like, Roger Federer and Nadal, anything else. You just know that when you're playing them, you have to bring your A game. I mean, look, Halep is no joke. Halep is top 1, 2, 3 all the time. She just ran through her in the quarterfinals, Serena. 6-2, 6-2. Okay, and Halep gets everything back. Okay? And so, but she didn't play that same game with Osaka. I mean, she just didn't. And she was hit so many unforced errors. Took her too long to get her serve going. And personally, as I watched her and watched her through the years, she's just way too emotional. Just way too emotional out there. It's just like, I think one thing about tennis, if you look at the tennis players that really do well, they may have some outbursts, and Federer never does, whatever, but for the most part, it's that cool head that prevails. And I feel like she's just so in her feelings during the game that it makes it tough, when things aren't going well. And I think that she needs, if she can find some way of having more of a cerebral feeling out there, when she's out there, and just play her game. I mean, she's great. Just play your game,
Yeah, I just think she knows in the back of her mind, like, now there's less time. It's not like she's going to be playing in, Australian Open, the majors for the next 3-4 years. That she knows that chasing that 1 more, and obviously 2 more to break it, it weighs on a great player like her.
Well, yeah. I mean, at her age, yeah. I mean, she's getting up there. I mean, she's past the point where most players would even be playing. So, and she's still that good. I just think, there's a lot of different things. She one of the things, her biggest problem, she's been injury prone. She's had injuries and stuff. And just from the eye test, it would appear to me maybe she's carrying too much weight, on those joints, So I think the particular Australian Open, she looked like she slimmed down a bit and she was moving fantastic, really moving well, and I think, but that's part of who she is right now. She's a mom. She's no young girl anymore, and she's still killing it. So, I
think she's
think
the greatest of all time, Leon.
Yeah, and and look, who is she not beating? Osaka. That's it. Osaka's not gonna be there every time. She's not gonna be there every time. It's a big tournament. Someone's gonna knock her off before she gets to Serena. So if that is her one obstacle, and then also I think Serena has not played her A game against Osaka either. So she owes her that. And then see if Osaka can beat her.
We definitely appreciate the basketball talk, the tennis talk, and of course the curtain talk too, Leon.
Leon, I was gonna say, I know the city's about to open up. I know you're about to go back on tour. Can you tell us when's the next tour, and so people could follow you and get some tickets?
Yeah, I don't really know what's happening. As far as music is concerned, but I just wrapped City on a Hill on Showtime with Kevin Bacon and Addis Hodge that premieres on March 28th on Showtime. And then I'm about to go into something else, another series. So it depends on how many outdoor festivals it's going to be. It depends on how things are going to open up. It's still so uncertain, But anyway, you can definitely reach me on Instagram at www.justleon, www.justleon. 3 W's before the just, because someone tried to take the Leon and try to get me to pay for it by Just Leon, so I just put 3 W's and kept it moving. I got a few followers too. Thank you.
Good stuff. Thanks again for the time tonight.
Hey.
Appreciate it.
Salute.
Go Knicks. Go Knicks. And I'll tell my mom that we chatted.
All right, later.
Tell her I said hello.
All right, man. Later.
I think he likes my curtains more, my friend.
That was actually. I got good curtains, man. Stop hating, man.
Who's had to sit through all of this, curtain talk is our next guest, and we apologize for that. So we wanted to welcome in the former PR man of Dwight Howard. That's Superman. That was what the intro was all about. Senior Manager of Media Relations and Social Strategy for You First Sports, Jarrod Rudolph is with us tonight. Jay, what's going on?
Can you guys see me okay?
Yeah. It's a little dark. It's a little dark.
It's not.
Hey, there we go. Hey,
we got curtains too. I guess that must be the theme of the night.
This
Curtain
light is
night
killing my eyes. What's going on, fellas?
Nah,
Doing
man.
good.
How you been holding on?
I'm maintaining, man. I like to be in the house, so.
Yeah, so obviously we know you're a big, huge b-ball fan. So far, what do you think about the All-Star lineup so far announced today?
I didn't see it.
Huh?
I didn't see it. I didn't. I saw my cable went out. We had a winter storm here, so when Charles Kenny and Ernie and Shaq were talking about it, my TV went off. So I was watching Burn Notice. So I wish I was a little bit more prepared to talk about.
Got you, man. We got you. We'll put up
Bradley Beal. So Bradley Beal got voted in. I do know that, right? That's good to see because
we're going to put up the West All-Stars first, and then we'll show you the East too. How about that?
Let's do it. I asked Edgar not to throw me any curveballs, but we're 0-2 on that one.
That's not his style at all. So there's our West Stars. Of course, highlighted by LeBron.
Okay, so I'm okay with I would have put Dame as a starter. 100%. I would have put Dame as a starter. If I could change anything, Dame is a starter, but I wouldn't move Luka out. I'd take Kawhi out.
Wow.
Because Luka, technically, 1, 2, 3, he can go either way. But Dame should be in the starting lineup.
See, in my mind, Jarrod, I had Dame over Doncic in this lineup.
I don't have Dame over Doncic too right now.
I don't know. That's close.
I mean, obviously Joker's having an MVP season. Kawhi's Kawhi. LeBron is having he's probably right now the leading MVP person. Yeah, Doncic is the only one.
I mean,
I like Dame in the starting lineup. You know, I like Luka and what he does. I know the team hasn't necessarily responded well, but if we're basing it, you know, around that and not, you know, fan votes and who people want, you know, people want to see Dame. And it's been that way since he went and absolutely took over the bubble and did what he did there. You know, he's box office. So, you know, an all-star game is a popularity contest. So all of those things factor in. And I would think that more people want to see Dame Lillard in the all-star, especially what he's doing, because he's in the MVP conversation as well, more so than Kawhi. So
I mean, the numbers
you know,
are crazy for him. I mean, he's averaging 29.8 points, 4.4 rebounds, 7.7 assists. Blazers are on a 6-game winning streak. And to be honest, and I think Ed would agree, I mean, he's doing all of this, and the team has been ravaged by injuries.
Yeah, now he's
big shot last night to win that game.
He's something special. Well, I tell you, I mean, Steph is Steph, and I don't think that we've ever seen anything like him. But Dame, man, he's just a hell of a ball player. I mean, he gets better each year, and you know, he's just so cool about the way he goes about doing things. Never too high, never too low. It reminds me of Carmelo, like that type of, you know, the vibe you get from watching him. But you know, perhaps even better or different. But it's just really, really, you know, so much to like about Dame. He definitely should be in the starting lineup, and you know, you never know what can happen between now and the game.
Are you happy with the way Dame has been so loyal to the Blazers and never, you know, asked to be traded?
I mean, happy with it. I mean, it's his decision. I mean, I respect it, but I also will respect if he was to say, "I've been here long enough. I think that we've exhausted all of our options, and you know, I'd like to play in a different situation." You know, to each his own, right? Because even if you leave Portland, or you know, if you're a Dame, if you're a Brad Beal, if you're James Harden, if you're one of these guys and you want to go and fit into another situation and give it a run, it's not a guarantee that it's always going to work out the way that you want it to work out, right? Like, where could Dame go right now that would put him in a position to automatically compete for a championship? As great as he is, where does he fit perfectly with, you know, you're just going to take off, right? So it's more to it than that. And, you know, you're comfortable and your family's comfortable and you know, you trust the organization and you wait and you're patient and you're confident in yourself and you want to compete. So everybody is different. I wouldn't want to see him end up like Garnett, where he waits too long to make a move, where things are, you know, they wait too long to put things in place where he really has a shot. But ultimately, it's his plane, and he has earned the right to fly it any way he wants to. And if that's going to be important the entirety of his career, can't really fault him for that.
Yeah, the only thing that guy can't do on a basketball court is put a mask on over a headset in a post-game interview.
Yeah, and he's always been good, but it's just he's different now. Ever since the bubble, and when he went into the bubble, he hasn't come down off that planet. He went to an entirely different space, and he's there. And it's rarefied air. It's only but a few players that are in that space. You got a lot of good players in the league, but then you got guys that are just different. And this kid is different. And, you know, he looks to now be ready to take off and get even better than where he is now. So, you know, he's a hell of a player and definitely should be an all-star starter. No doubt he'll get the call. He'll be in Atlanta.
So speaking of Atlanta, with all the craziness going on, obviously with COVID, do you think the All-Star game should be played?
It's a business. You know, it's a business. Should it be played? I mean, you can make an argument that, you know, it should and it shouldn't. Here's the reality of it. You have to trust the league, right? You know, the league has always done what is best for everyone. People may not necessarily agree with it in its entirety, but the NBA, in terms of taking the temperature of fans, owners, players, I think they do a good enough job of trying to figure out something that works for everyone. But it is a business, okay? So you have to do the best you can. And then in terms of the players, you know, look, some of them are not happy about going, but professional basketball, so it's a partnership. The league is going to put on this made-for-TV game. And the best ball players in the world are going to go and play in it. And the key word here is professional. There's an expectation that the league is going to provide with these players what they need to be safe. And these players are going to do what they need to do to stay safe so that this game goes over and this thing doesn't become a super spreader, right? Keyword being professional. Best league in the world, best players in the world. So I think ultimately it'll be okay. But we're in different times and everyone is taking a loss. And if you keep now eliminating things, especially top item things from the product that you're serving, then, ultimately it's going to hurt the bottom line and everyone is going to be affected. Right. So it's not, players, families, concession owners, it matters to try to keep things going, because if you keep things going, then people are employed. I mean, they could shut the whole thing down and wait until, everyone is given an okay, or enough people are given an okay where people, don't get the virus. But then a lot of people will be out of work. So, you kind of have to look at it both ways. I think if you're playing games on a day-to-day basis, then you can play the All-Star game. Now, where the communication breakdown came, where, the belief was there wasn't going to be an All-Star game, there was going to be an All-Star team named, and guys feeling like they got hit with the okie doke. I get it. But again, professional basketball, this is a big deal, this All-Star game, and getting it off is going to continue to, keep a certain level of money in there. And, ultimately everybody's trying to make as much money as they can and not derail the product so much that when everything is back to whatever the new normal is going to be, that you don't have to completely rebuild, right? You want to reshape it. You want to keep what works, get rid of what doesn't, but you don't want to break it down and rebuild it from start to finish. So trying to keep it as normal and functioning as much as possible, and how that looks in comparison to how it was looked in the past, you got to do it. So there's going to be a finals. There's going to be an All-Star game. There's going to be a Super Bowl. I would imagine there's going to be a World Series and an All-Star game, so long as these leagues are coming up with ways to keep guys as safe as they possibly can and turn a profit. I mean, it is a business at the end of the day, so I get it.
Jarrod, in the comments, you actually had given the real GOAT, some love. You said by far Michael Jordan is the greatest player of all time. So I wanted to put that out there because I know it's going to be something that upsets Ed. So that's,
Ed knows what it is. I mean, it's not close. And, the league isn't set up for any of these guys to surpass Michael Jordan. The analytics and, the elimination of, a consistent interior presence, like real role players, so much screen and roll. It's like LeBron is great, the greatest of his era. When that era, whether it's still his era, whether it's Steph's era, that's an interesting debate. But LeBron is the best. But it's positioned that when the game is so wide open that a guy that big, that skilled, LeBron can play until he's 50. So long as his body doesn't break down, he's going to be effective. At some point, the league has to look at giving perimeter defenders the same type of advantages that perimeter offensive players have. Guys have gotten so creative because you can't touch them and you can't do anything. So you have the step backs and people throwing it between their legs and doing stuff, and that's cool. But basketball still works. As the offense on the wing has progressed, you have to give the defense a chance to catch up, or you're going to have games that are 170 to 210, and that's bad for everybody. You just don't need that. And I think that playing in that type of circumstances, that counts. All of that matters, because if you're comparing errors to errors, if you put Michael or Charles or Magic, I mean, can you imagine how many assists Magic Johnson would average in a game where he can always call for a high screen and roll and he has shooters everywhere around him? He get 20 assists a night. Jordan scored close to 45, 50 points because you can't do anything. There's nothing you can do to impede progress, and there is no Patrick Ewing. There's these guys. Jordan doesn't have to dunk on them. He's dunking on guards now, right? So it's different, and I don't think it's fair to compare, but you do have to factor in the way the game is played now. And my hope is that for basketball purposes, that wing defenders are given an opportunity to compete on the same level as wing offensive players. And right now, I don't think that's the case.
All right, so we talk about wing players, though. We had one of the greatest power forwards of all time, I think it was last week, say that 20 years, Kevin Garnett, he said 20 years ago, those players 20 years ago back in his day, a lot of those players can't play in today's era.
Cap.
Huh?
Cap.
You said Cap?
Yes, Cap. I don't know who he's capping for. That's cap. Why? Look, if you're a great player, you can play like you can play. You can put LeBron James in any era, he can play, right? You put Steph Curry in any era, he's going to play. I think what happens is the imagination of the coaches. Not every coach would be able to coach in different eras, right? If you're Kevin Garnett, you'll be able to play now easier than you. Like, what are you going to do? Kevin Garnett can play on the inside, you can play on the outside. How would you deal with that guy, right? If everyone is a unicorn,
would get beat up 20 years ago.
You said who now?
Steph Curry would get beat up 20 years ago.
Maybe he would, maybe he wouldn't. But even 20 years ago, we've never seen that combination of someone that could shoot like that off the bounce. You either have one or the other. So he's going to be able to free himself, right? No different than Isaiah can free himself because he can put the ball on the floor. If you can play, you can play. Now, how effective you would be in different eras, that's going to be based on how you're used. So a lot of the guys that are playing in this era will be used differently if they were playing in the 90s and 2000s and vice versa. But you're going to tell me that Charles Barkley couldn't play in this era? Charles Barkley was the original small guy getting the ball off the glass, taking it coast to coast, could play on the perimeter, could play in the interior. How could Charles Barkley not play in this era? How could Kevin Garnett not play in this era? How could Tim Duncan not play in this era? Like, basketball still works, all because they tell you that shooting a bunch of threes is some type of equalizer. And if you trade threes for twos, that you're going to win. That's not basketball. That's an equation that might factor into something, but it's not about coming off the screen. It's not about how to defend. Like, basketball still matters. And if you can play basketball, then you're going to be able to find a place in this league. And I think that the guys in Kevin Garnett's era and ever before that were better basketball players. I think that we see a lot of athletes now in a wide open league. And that's why you see so much duplication. You know, it's a very top heavy league. And then when you get down to the role players of it all, it's a lot to be desired because everyone does the same thing. Guards call for a high screen and roll, go down the lane, shoot a floater. They don't know how to make an interior pass. They don't know how to play without the ball. And you can't say that about guys in the early 2000s because you had to be able to play basketball. So, again, you get a Dale Ellis and you put him in this era. He knows how to come off screens and spot up and throw a ball fake and go to the basket. You're going to tell me that in this wide open NBA that Dale Ellis wouldn't potentially be an all-star? That's cap. No, I don't know who he was, trying to pacify, but it's cap. But he tends to do that.
Patrick Ewing would probably average almost 30 in this era.
Yeah, how could Patrick Ewing?
Just to let you know, Bobby C, the greatest jump shooting center of all time. Just want to put it out there.
He live at the free throw line or side screen and rolls. If you can play, you can play. David Robinson would be great. And look, I know people. Shaq would what could you possibly do? Which, if you're not teaching big men to be big men anymore, and you get a guy that big, that you're not supposed to be that size and that quick and that agile, how would you possibly do anything with that man? Or we put him in a screen and roll on defense. All right, but they did that a little bit too. The Kings did that, and it worked to some success. But ultimately, you gotta guard him. You gotta guard that guy. And at some point, you gotta double him. At some point, you gotta triple him. Like, come on. I mean, basketball is basketball, and it still works. It's a lot of, a lot of this stuff looks like YMCA. Guys just coming down and screen and roll and dribble and shooting, and that ain't basketball. I mean, it's a part of it, but that's not all of it.
And I think that you can make a case Ewing is the greatest Knick of all time. It's either him or Walt Frazier. My book.
That's Patrick by far.
Yeah, I can go with that. I can live with Patrick.
Patrick Ewing. I mean, he's
Yeah, I can live with Patrick.
I'm not even. Walt Frazier was great, and people put Walt Frazier great because he won titles, but Patrick Ewing is the greatest Knick of all time, and nobody's gonna. I don't care what people say about it.
No, you can live with that. I mean, I think. Look, we talk about Walt. You talk about Willis. You got to count the fact they were able to get to the mountaintop. They also didn't have to go through Michael Jordan, so. Michael changed everyone's fortunes.
And Patrick was a winner until not being able to get that title in the NBA.
Yeah, and you did not win because of Ewing, right? Like it wasn't on him. He did his job. Starks had an off shooting night and was 3 for 18, 3 for 19. He had an off night at the wrong time.
And the Rockets were pretty good. I mean,
they're pretty good, but he and Vernon Maxwell kind of doppelgangers, right? So at some point, somebody was going to be off, and Starks had the off game, and Maxwell, if I'm not mistaken, in that game 7, played fairly well. So there was a trade-off. Whichever of those guys played better at that time, the team was going to win the title, and Vernon got it.
Jarrod, definitely love the perspective, and I'm sure some of our fans recall your days as a sports writer. You've done PR and of course sports writing. I wanted to kind of put you back in that same role for a question that I had for you tonight. Some trending NBA news this week is courtesy of Draymond Green. So Green puts together these comments that were instigated by the Cavs and the treatment of Andre Drummond. So of course, all the talk is about, Jarrett Allen in Cleveland and the fact that they plan to trade Drummond, and that's been made public. Green goes and sounds off about the double standard between teams and players. Do you think that this latest speech by Draymond is a sign that the control of the black athlete might be in its final days?
Well, it depends on what the black athlete does to Draymond can scream from top of the hills, and he has a point that has been made many, many times before. But it really depends on what the black athlete decides to do with the power. So it's really up to the black athlete. So I like to see what's going to happen. I'd like to, I'm a black man, 41 years old. I would love to see these brothers take some control and create some consistent mutual respect, because every situation is different. In my day, you showcase the guy when you were going to move him so you can get more for him. You sit him, you kind of devalue him. So I don't quite understand it from that perspective, but I also don't know what's going on behind closed doors and what the circumstances behind that specific situation is. So it's really difficult to say. Generally speaking, yes, there's always been this perception that the player, LeBron, is wrong for leaving Cleveland and going to Miami and taking a better job. But if they felt like they had run their course with LeBron and they moved him to rebuild, that it was just part of the business. It's all business. And I think from a fan perspective, that it needs to be less personal when a guy decides to take a better job, because that's what it is. If I'm Bradley Beal and I decide that, my job in Washington is no longer the job for me and I want to go elsewhere, I'm looking for a better job. People do that on a day-to-day basis. It's business, right? Or if the franchise decides, you know what, let's move him and get something while we can before he gets hurt, or, before the productivity falls off. It's a business. Fans personalize it, but players now are feeling more empowered, as they should. They are the commodity. They are the driving force behind the league. So just create the consistent respect that you like to see, but it's up to them to stand up and to do something about it. You can say anything you want. It's about what you're going to do. So how are you going to create that consistent respect, that consistent mutual respect between the players and the team? I think they do a good job most of the time, and certain things slip through the cracks. So what can we do to consistently create that? And that's up to them. They have the power.
I was listening to a conversation on Clubhouse, and Jared Jeffries, former Knick,
my man,
was talking, and they were talking about player empowerment. And one of the things, and this is actually a good question for you because you deal with so many athletes, is he thinks that eventually reporters will be phased out and players will have their own like clubhouses, or either Clubhouse, or they'll be like, hey, meet me on Clubhouse so I can do my post game. And then he'll have like, if he has a certain relationship with certain reporters, they could go on his Clubhouse. They can ask questions, because he feels like the narrative has changed with there's too many reporters, and they want to say whatever they want to say. And they want to be able to control the narrative. Do you think that's a good idea, that players that would happen, and where players pretty much will control pretty much the post-game press conferences on their own, and it won't be just like how it used to be?
No, that ain't never gonna happen. Look, controlling the narrative, it is, obviously I went to college and I've been in locker rooms, but my philosophy in doing the business was built from watching Stephon Marbury. Steph and Mike Tyson mostly, and a lot of Dwight. And it was about the importance of controlling the narrative. But that's not done on a case-by-case basis. That's done on a day-to-day basis because you have to build up goodwill, and you have to build. So what happens is you build up goodwill, you give yourself the benefit of the doubt. Then if you're averaging 20-8, but the team's not winning, you can't get criticized for being a point guard that's not doing the job. And then everyone just buys into that. That's what happened with Steph, right? Steph was putting up the numbers in New York. The team wasn't winning. Then all of a sudden, it would question his skills as a point guard. But it was more to the story. But because he never controlled the narrative, that's how he was painted. Now, again, this is a business, this is a machine. And part of the machine is to generate fan interest and curiosity. And no one does that better than the NBA. But that is a partnership with the media. Now, you got good reporters and you got bad reporters. And you have guys that have the ability to control their own narrative and tell their own story, whether that be through social media or through various other activations. There needs to be an interest and an understanding from an individual player standpoint as to how to monetize that and how to control it. And that doesn't happen. You get a lot of guys on a day-to-day basis turning down interviews where they have an opportunity to tell their story the way they want it told, right? But you don't want to do it because of some preconceived notion that everyone in the media is the same way. No, you control your story. You control the narrative until you decide to give it away. And the moment you now give it away, you can't get upset and want to get it back when it's out of your control. That's why you must always, like the great ones, the great ones, Magic, Grant Hill, Jordan, they all had magnificent relationships. Even LeBron, not to leave him, they have magnificent relationships with the media. Now, they may have guys that they trust and they deal with more than others, but they always control the narrative. So then when there is a misstep, you're in a position to recapture it and get things under control. Most guys aren't doing the work on a day-to-day basis to gain that control because there isn't an interest in dealing with the media. It's not about, media versus athlete and, this reporter. No, everyone, look, there's nobody across the board. There's not 100% productivity in any job. There's some really shitty reporters out there, okay? I know some really shitty reporters. And there's some really good reporters. And there's some really reporters in the middle that are on their way up. How you choose to interface with them on a day-to-day basis, the opportunities that you choose to take, how you choose to activate, and what you're trying to build, that's going to control your ability to navigate throughout this world when the ball stops bouncing, right? And a lot of guys just don't get it. So no, this idea that I'm going to control my own post-game press conference based on what? Let's keep it a buck. Everyone in the locker room is not getting interviewed post-game, right? And post-game is about the game, okay? What about Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday? See, the way I built my relationships with players was I understood that it was a relationship. So yeah, I'm gonna speak to you post game, and certain times you're not gonna like my opinions. But when you're doing charity events, like I'm gonna be there. Like when you're playing well, I'm gonna write the feature that's not about the post game. I'm going to talk about how you've performed over the last 10 games or how you've improved from season to season, and you build relationships and guys trust you, right? So then when you do have to write the bad game, and look, I love Dwight. He's my brother, but no one is more critical than Dwight Howard than I am. No one. And he understood that was part of the job. But he also understood that when he was throwing charity games, all right, I'm writing about that. When he was playing well for Team USA and wasn't getting love, I'm going to write about that, right? You build a relationship. So guys have to take time, no different than the way they learn about finances and learn about businesses and learn about brand building. You have to take the time to learn about media and how to relate to the media and how to use it to your advantage and understand that you control the narrative. Until you don't, you have to take an active interest in building your rapport with the media and with the public. And if you do that, there are going to be so many more opportunities to fall into place. But don't not take a part in the building or the shaping of the narrative and then get pissed off when someone writes something that doesn't fit your taste. No, that's on you because you've decided that you were going to neglect the day-to-day process of building the narrative, and you just can't do that. You just can't. Not if you want it to mean something. Now, if you don't care if somebody shit on you and you're just going to take that old approach, oh, they're haters and all this other stuff, then fine, do what you're doing. But if this bothers you, and if you are concerned about relating to the public and control the narrative and having a say in how your story is written, then be involved. Take the interview, do the shows, do the work, learn the craft. Because if you just think a bunch of brothers in the locker room with phones doing their own post games is going to work for anybody, especially them, you're sadly mistaken. You do that, people now lose less interest in the game. The league can't advertise. It's all a machine. It all works together, man. And I'm sorry to be long-winded, but this is what I do. I deal with guys, they have great interview opportunities in front of them. They're like, nah, I don't want to do it. You're like, why? No reason. But then as soon as Shaq or Chuck or some beat writer talks about how they're struggling, they're a hater. No, fam, like you got to do the work. You got to do the work. So if you feel like the opinion that is being given about you is wrong, what can you point back to other than your feelings? Show me something. What are you doing on a day-to-day basis to gain that interest with fans? I'm like, nah, wait a minute. No hate. He's averaging this amount of points, this amount of, and this is how it's affecting the team. His defensive rating is there. What are you doing to participate in that? If you're not participating, stop complaining.
You know, Jarrod, I see that you got the Lakers-Nets game on in the background there. Shift gears, talk a little bit about that matchup tonight. Nets are actually winning that game late in the second quarter. And no AD for the Lakers, no KD for the Nets. You know, your thoughts in terms of this litmus test for this first big showdown. Do you think we end up seeing the Nets and the Lakers in the finals?
The Nets decide to play a little bit of defense is a possibility.
We were talking about that earlier.
Yeah, I mean, they play, but I think, you know, we'll see what happens. The Sixers like a piece or two away. And you know, don't forget to leave like Joel Embiid. He, you know, realistically, he's probably the MVP. I know they've lost a few games, but he's played amazing. And you know, this is a guy on any given night could be the best player in the world. I think they need a point guard though. Somebody to really kind of help set and put everything together and less duplication. You know, you're always a piece away, depending on what that piece or who becomes available. And, you know, with Blake Griffin, like, you know, possibly being out there and Andre Drummond, you never know where these guys end up. I think what we're going to see is a damn good playoffs, and I think that whoever wins it is going to have to work for it. You never count LeBron James out, but Kevin Durant has looked great since he got back, and that's a lot of firepower to have out there. How Steve Nash puts it together and whether they can get big stops, you know, how they match up with people, that's going to be very, very important because the game slows down in the playoffs. And when you look at a team like the Sixers, when you can pound it inside and you have shooting on the outside, you're always going to have a shot because they're going to have those boys moving if they decide to play defense. If they don't, you know, you make it easier for Ben Simmons to now go down the lane and score and do a lot of different things. So, I mean, I think on paper you have to make them the favorites, but this is not NBA 2K. It's real life basketball, and you got to play the games, and you never know what can happen.
Totally.
I totally agree. Well, you know, we'll see what happens, though. We'll see. I appreciate you coming on, Jarrod. I definitely, you know, you're my brother. You know, I love you to death.
Great stuff.
My man, Edgar. You took the hood off. You was looking like the Emperor from Star Wars earlier. I thought you were going to have the hood on again.
Yeah.
I was about the lightning bolts is going to start coming out your hand.
Word.
All right. Thank you, brothers. I appreciate you guys for having me, man. I hope I wasn't too long-winded, but if I was, say, it is what it is.
Jarrod, you're always long-winded.
Pays the bills, Edgar. Has been paying the bills for quite some time.
Later.
Well, Ed, great show tonight. You know, definitely want to thank our guests, Leon and Jarrod Rudolph, and just excited to see how this Lakers-Nets matchup finishes up. That might be a to get off. Your phone's blowing up like usual. But definitely want to thank our guests tonight, and I hope you enjoy the rest of the game.
Bob, I feel like you lost energy today. Like, what's going on?
Well, I mean, I just, you know, was just kind of being chill on the way out here. I mean, Leon kind of set the chill.
I need Bobby from last week.
What's going on? You know, JR set the chill vibe too. So, you know, maybe that's what it is. Just like kind of a mellow show.
No, but, you know, obviously we come back next week, but I want to wish you a happy early birthday.
Oh, goodness. You really hurt my feelings bringing it up as much as I love the wishes. You know, I'm just another year older here.
Wishing you nothing but, you know, more love, more blessings. You know, I hope you achieve, you know, more goals that you have, that you're striving for.
I try my best, Ed, to like to kind of cut out all the gray hairs when I'm shaving now. Like I just like trim them out, so that it can't be seen at a sign of age here, I guess.
Nah, you look good for your age, man. We're not gonna put you on blast and say your age, but you look good for your age.
I'm all good with it.
And Randy Cruz is shouting you out. Happy birthday, Bobby C. And you know how we feel about you.
I love you, man. I mean, there's no doubt. Whether we're stepping in the arena or however you want to phrase it, I love doing the podcast with you.
Into the arena. You know why, right? Because there's two.
Into the arena. There's two of us. Well, we've gone OT here again on Step Into the Arena. And again, as we mentioned before, just want to thank our guests and appreciate the love, Ed, and can't wait to do this again next week.
All right,
10 o'clock next week? Yeah, I think 10 o'clock next week. All right, sounds good. Talk to you later, Ed. See you next time.